all been really close back and forth series. And the map, Daedalus Point, of course, here for Soulkey. This is exactly what you'd expect to see a Zork player pick.
And most important thing to watch here for the Protoss is what kind of build order is he going to open up with.
Yeah.
Because this the entrance to the second base for the Protoss, if you cover it at the ramp, then the Nexus cannon isn't useful. And also you have 3 areas of location to defend from air. If you try to cover it by the Nexus, then there's a stronger Zork frontal attack. So it's kind of a choose-your-own-adventure of disadvantaged build order openings here for the Protoss. Did you ever read choose-your-own-adventure books?
Yeah, a long time ago. Like one of those. Like,
do they still write those?
I don't know. I think I used to read like the Goosebumps ones.
Yeah, I think they did Goosebumps choose-your-own-adventure. Be like, do you want to go upstairs or downstairs? And I like go upstairs, and then I fall into a pit and like lose, and I'm like, this is so stupid.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm going back to the beginning, I guess.
You know what they should do? They should make a choose-your-own-adventure based off actual logical sequences. You know what I mean?
I bet they've made better ones by now.
Especially for kids, if it was like, okay, like what's the smartest thing you actually do here? Because all those ones, other ones was just like, you know, so it's a total dice roll. That's what I think about Choose Your Own Adventures, guys, when it comes to books. Anyways, on to the final match between these two for now. One of them will no longer be in the GSL Code S. Whoa.
2014 Hot 6 GSL Season 1 Round 16 Soulkey versus Zest.
Yeah, the Choose Your Own Adventure books I was reading was the Indiana Jones ones.
Oh, okay. I didn't know those existed.
Yeah, I mean, they were, and then there was actually a Zork Choose Your Own Adventure book. Actually, a couple of them. Are you too young to know that it's Zork?
Say, I was about to say if I ask you what Zork is, I think you might get offended. But
no, I won't be offended.
I think Keller once told me about Zork, but I can't remember, man.
Zork originally, I believe it was titled Adventure. Is actually one of the very first games that were made. It was a text-based adventure game. Have you ever played a text-based game?
Yeah, once or twice.
They're actually so hard. You actually could type in anything. They got it programmed to just. It's crazy. But Zork was the original text-based Choose Your Own Adventure, and there was Return to Zork, which was basically like a terrible fever dream of a game that didn't make any sense. And then had a few other Zork games that kind of turned into what was similar to the Myst. Are you familiar with the Myst franchise?
Myst was great, man.
Back in my day, every kid's dad had like Myst on
the computer. My dad had Myst too, man.
Right, yeah, everybody's dad had Myst. And they never beat it, but that was like for some reason the game that dads had.
My dad beat it, actually.
Really?
He had like the whole notebook filled with notes. He was into that game.
Oh, damn.
I didn't understand it because I was too young, but I loved watching him like try to figure out how to play the piano to like open the rocket ship or whatever. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
I don't know if they make games like that as much anymore.
Remember when he got to the island with the cogs, I was like, this is sick. Like, I don't even know where this is, but just the music was so compelling at the time. There weren't a lot of great computer games.
Yeah, that was back when it was like basically a slideshow could be a computer game too.
Yeah,
like,
basically.
It's like, all right, we're gonna go back 3 slides. But anyways, onto this game.
Yeah, double hatch before pool and extra drones coming out for Soulkey.
Now, it looks like we're still waiting to see, is he going to wall in here at the ramp? Actually, it's a pylon there at the ramp. So, yeah. Now, that's going to be, remember, the Zork does have the option to be aggressive here at that entrance. The Nexus Cannon is not as helpful. Cybernetics Core now on the way.
Yeah. I wonder how he's going to play this one, Zest, that is, because taking a third base here is pretty tough. And, you know, we started talking about this Choose Your Own Adventure based on the idea of it's almost like choose your poison as Zest on this map. You know, how does he
pick
wall?
Your poison. Yeah, it's tough. The opening here is tough, and the openings for Protoss really strongly, I'd say more so than the other races, impact how, I guess unless Terran goes mech, that's like pretty strong.
Yeah.
Core with fingerprint to where the game's going to go. But with Protoss especially, the openers are just so important.
And there's so many of them.
Because in the mid game, there's so many things that can happen to you.
He's going to go Stargate here. It's just, we've seen players hit timing attacks on this map instead of trying to play late game because the third base is so open and hard to take. He actually shows the Stargate to Soulkey. That's like how confident he is with his Phoenix play. We've seen already from him so much. He's just like, no, I don't care if you know, because I'm going to kill so many drones anyways and do so much damage anyways. So we'll see how that one plays out for him. Soulkey obviously is going to respond as quickly as possible to get those spore crawlers up, make sure his queens connect the bases if possible so it doesn't get isolated. The big problem for Soulkey last game was just not seeing those Zealots until it was too late. And having only Zerglies on the map, and Hydras were just way too late as well.
Yeah, well, he thought he could get more drones out. I mean, he just didn't expect Zest to actually move out. Wow, okay, so pretty gutsy stuff here by Soulkey. This is an example of a player who's just so good at multitasking, he can do this. He's just going to harass this entrance until a Mothership Core or a Sentry comes out to drive him away, and the meanwhile, every time the Zealot pops out, he's going to try to run inside the base.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, I mean, against a lot of players, that could just work.
Yeah, I mean, if you make one silly mistake or your Zealot isn't on hold position for 1 second, then you get so much value out of that. And, you know, if you're doing nothing but making drones at home and spreading a little bit of creep tumors, if you have the multitasking that Soulkey has, it's quite amazing, then it could work out for you. Forge finishes up here, and we're going to see +1 drop pretty soon, I think, as well. A bit differently than how things worked out last game, but still a similar type of opening. It's just so tough for Protoss to take a third base. I wonder how he's going to approach that, because 2-base Blink Stalker, you know, is something we've seen sometimes when a Protoss player just wants to take a third next up, but they don't really use it. It's just not that appealing to me on this map, and I don't think it's really Zest style.
There's a dead Ultralisk on that bridge.
Yeah, that's gross.
There's actually been a lot of dead. There's a dead Ultralisk on a
Habitation Station.
Habitation Station.
He's like impaled in between the 2 bases, the 2 gold bases.
Yeah. It's kind of sad, man.
Yeah, the map maker must not be a
If I was
fan.
playing on this map and I was Soulkey, I'd definitely not make Ultras in that case. I'd consider it an omen right now.
Yeah. Well, there's like a trapped lurker, like in a pit towards the bottom of the
yeah, they're
Zerg
towards
base.
him. He's like, sorry guys, I just want to make this game more fun, but like. So.
Your role overlaps the main lane. Stay in there and we'll tase you.
You stay in there and we're going to dissect you slowly and painfully. You thought ET had it bad. No. He's continuing to take out drones right now.
Yeah, he's just finding the sweet spots.
Yeah,
look at how much damage
it's always
he's done
by
here.
those geysers, basically.
Yeah.
You could just scoop them up.
This is so annoying as a Zerg player because if you make 2 spores at each base, that's 6 spores, which means that's essentially 6 drones you paid money to lose.
Yeah.
You have to because otherwise you're going to lose more.
And of course, you have to put them closer to the minerals, which means they could still take drones away from the gases. This is something that, you know, it was kind of a phenomenon that happened a long time ago in RTS games where you had to basically accept the fact that you would lose a certain number of workers no matter what.
Yeah.
For instance, in very, very, very old StarCraft 1, when the Terran had to wall in, and then the Dragoon would come attack the ramp, and then you would probably have to lose like a few SCVs or try to repair. You know, it was like no matter what, you have to just take this, absorb this damage in order to get the mech out and then play a normal game.
Well, this group of Zerlings is just anticipating a third base being dropped, but it hasn't happened, and we see Colossus being produced. Starts at third base regardless, and this means he's not going to be like doing an all-in with Colossi. He's just going to use these to help secure his third base.
Yeah, the way the main and the third kind of connect, you could pretty much use the Colossus to attack on the low ground, and then if he does get focus fired, he just walks up.
Yeah. I mean, this is a pretty safe style from Zest that we're seeing. And he's continuing to scout with his Phoenixes as well. And so far, he hasn't really seen... well, actually, has he seen that infestation pit? I'm not sure if he actually saw that.
You know, I'm not totally sure, man.
Well, if he does, he's probably going to add a second robo, and he's going to be well prepared. With all the harassment he's done, I have to feel like he's seen it. I'm going to kill another Overseer here. Yeah, and...
Okay, so we're going to have some Swarm Host play. It does appear.
Yes, it does.
And there are the 5 Swarm Hosts. This is a good build on this map because the relationship that all 4 of the early bases for the Zerg have is that they're pretty defendable.
Yeah. That's the first unit loss for Zest this game, I think. Very first Phoenix.
Yeah, I believe you're right, actually.
He's just so good with his Phoenix micro in all the games that he's shown us today.
Yeah, he's been absolutely great.
Now, I wonder how this is going to pan out for Soulkey because he's going up to 10 Swarm Hosts, and he's spread his creep decently far, but the Swarm Hosts that he's making are going to be... They're not going to be defendable by like choke points like they would be on Yunsu, for example. They're going to be a little bit exposed, so he needs to keep some units to support them. As if Zest sees the Swarm Hosts exposed, he could just try to target those down, but even having Queens here and spreading that creep further are going to make it so much easier to reinforce those Locusts. And he's getting that increased lifetime, he's getting the +2 around the same time as Zest's +2 started. Zest, I believe, has +1 armor, though, as well. The Void Ray count's starting to get pretty high, too.
Well, you know, he could stay on here, crank out Colossus, a Void Ray, and just, you know, try to just wipe out the Locusts as they come forward. This is a bit of a strain on the Protoss, which is probably one of the reasons why Soulkey prefers to do it on maps like this. This is actually a nice move here. If he gets that cybernetic score, that's really annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if he's actually just going to target that a second time. It looks like he's re-rallied towards the Nexus.
Okay, so we have the gateway explosion occurring because the third base is the income's now kicking in. By the way, they're both getting about the same income right now.
Whoa, got to be careful with that Colossus.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the... excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. There is this is a problem for the Protoss because the Locusts are just free units.
Yeah,
free units. And let's say that Protoss tries to go around this, then they're just going to start damaging the Nexus.
Yeah.
And then by then it's you know, it's too much of a loss. So he kites the Locusts as much as he can. And we have a Hydralisk Den coming up here next. Now Zerg's almost maxed out. From there he's going to bank a lot of larva and then try to just you know deny the fourth base anything he can do to hurt the Zerg.
Yeah, he actually might be able to get this with these Zealots. Not sure what's over there to defend it. Actually just fights the things instead, which trade's okay,
well,
but...
I think with the Roaches coming up here now, I mean, they wipe out Zealots pretty fast. Well, let's see, though. There's a lot of Zealots now being warped in here.
Yeah, and with Charge, it's actually kind of hard to kite these. He will have to focus on this 100%. He'll kill them, but this is just another one of those things that Zest can do to draw the Zerg players' attention away from other things, which, all things considered, you don't really need to be paying attention to your Locusts. They're going to kind of do their own thing.
Yeah. And so that's the end of that harass over there. Now the Corruptors should just take out the Warp Prism as they do right now.
Even the Queen's helping out. That one Zealot, on the other hand, has like got something to say about it. I feel like the position for Soulkey is just getting stronger and stronger because he's going to start to build a bank here.
Well, you know, the unit combo that Zest was going for, right now it's a Void Ray Colossus. These are very gas-intensive late-game units. So, you know, with that being said, it takes a longer time to max out on that. Where, you know, the Swarm Host you can get pretty easily right at mid-game for the Zerg.
And he's
especially against a guy who's going Phoenixes.
And he's just going to keep sending those free units across the map. And anything he kills, be it Zealot, Stalker, damaging a Colossus, killing a cannon.
What's this UI casted the game with? This code, I forget which player it was. They just overmade Swarm Hosts?
I don't think that was me.
Okay, maybe it was with Dan. Where he had some, there was like 39 Swarm Hosts made.
Oh yeah, I remember this. I remember watching this game at home. He's gonna get the core, maybe?
No, not yet.
Not quite. But it's pretty low now.
So again, more Locusts just coming up here. So right now the Protoss is stuck. Zerg's maxed out. Zerg has a lot more freedom.
He's gonna lose that +1 air armor.
All right, he does get it. Nicely done. Is this going to be a game that's like, you know, we're watching Zest in quicksand here. Can he get out? Can he grab a branch? Can he do something to get out of the situation? Because, I mean, Zerg's just going to chip away at his opponent. Yeah,
he doesn't have a fourth base. He does have a bank, but the bank of Soulkey is like way better, and he's still not even trading units. He's only trading 3 units. Yeah, he loses these Roaches, so that's like a small price to pay. This Protoss army is pretty strong, though. Can he end the game with it? Because if he loses this for any reason, it'd be a tragedy. Don't think there's any infestors on the map yet. Still, no. He hasn't added any of those. That's something he probably is going to consider putting in pretty soon to help deal with the Void Ray count, which is now up to 7. Because 7 Void Rays can easily deal with 10 Corruptors, you know, they're just using that prismatic alignment. The Queens, on the other hand, 8 of them might make it a little bit more difficult with lots of transfuses to drop, and also they do a decent amount of damage.
I thought for a second he was remaking his core there. I was like, oh, no, don't make the core there again.
Even adding the gateway there is like almost a bit questionable. If he doesn't do it, like he's just going to walk in, you know? Like he kind of has to add something.
He has to have an obstruction there. Gateway, even if he's not going to use it, it's got enough HP.
It's got enough hit points,
It does. If you lose it, you just remake it. It's not like you can't make anything again because the gateway's gone, since you have so many other additional gateways.
Core has like more hit points than the gateway, but it's not useful to have 2 cores, so it's probably better for him to make a gateway.
Yeah.
That's a lot of Zealots. That's like a Zest amount of Zealots. He's probably just going to run those as Zerg players' main base and lose a game. Of course, just making a joke about what happened tomorrow. Oh my god, is he just going to catch these? No observer, though. Here comes the observer.
Where's the observer? Where's the observer? There it is.
There it is. And he's killed most of his Protoss army.
Oh my god, had there been an observer over there,
These Zest Zealot run by is very...
Imagine that heart palpitation that Soulkey felt when he saw that.
Like, he's still on the run. He's still in a lot of trouble here. He's used a lot of his bank to remake just a few Roaches and Hydras. And that's so much damage in the Protoss armor with those Archons there, too. Oh, my God.
Really nice. He's continuing to push forward now.
Just needs to get on top of those Swarm hosts as he can.
Yeah, and the Swarm hosts are just having to get farther and farther back. That was a really good... oh, I'm sorry. No, that wasn't actually the greatest time warp there. Now, he did harpoon 2 of those Colossi.
But, I mean, they're actually just closer, doing more damage, arguably, here now.
He needs to get that Observer a little bit closer to where the Swarm hosts are. He can actually take them out if he has his Zealots right on top of them. And
now
he's doing just that.
Uh-oh, there's too much AoE here, and the last of those Swarm hosts is going to start to fall to the Void Rays here. He picks some up and runs away, but this means he's going to sacrifice his hatchery. And he's trying to remax again here with Hydras and Roaches, but there's so much AoE and also those Void Rays. He needs something more here.
I think he's just barely broken him. I think Protoss actually wins here. Even the great Soulkey can't beat a Zest Protoss right now.
He's going to lose another Colossus here, and those free units are still spawning.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that there's so many Void Rays over here.
That's the issue.
And, he has more warping rounds available, so he could start to bring in more here. Okay, now, you know what? He does back up.
Yeah, but I think he could commit to chasing those Swarm hosts down with the Void Rays only. If he can isolate them away from the Hydras, he's just going to avoid them altogether and go in here. He's got that Warp Prism still for Warp Ends. Cannot be targeted, cannot be attacked here. There's no more Queens on the map right now, which means very difficult to actually kill that. There's no Queens, no Corruptors. Drones off the line here to fight Archons. That's a desperation move. And yeah, I think you're right. There's just not enough to deal with the Void Rays.
It's just barely enough. It just tips. The game tips just barely, like a scale, into Zest's favor, and if it tips just any bit further, the scale's going to go entirely onto Zest's side. I mean, he just has. You can see Soulkey almost doubting himself here as to if, he can actually recuperate from that. Now, granted, he did drive Zest out, yes, but he also Zest did manage to take out the Swarm hosts, and really when you lose a lot of Swarm hosts, you're back to square one.
Yeah.
There's 5 now, some of them remade here from Soulkey, but 5 is not that number where the
it's not a
Swarm
critical
hosts,
mass.
Yeah, you have to have this certain critical mass of Swarm hosts before you can't break into it.
Well, I mean, this Spinecrawler set is like really important against the Warp Prism harass we're about to see.
You also got to keep in mind that the bottom part of the creep there was completely shaved off. And that's going to take most of the rest of the game for Soulkey to push back. So, again, positionally, Zest is actually in a superior spot.
Oh, wait. I mean, look at his probe count, 41 to 39. It's almost double. And he's just got a much better economy. He's got a much better army as well. I mean, if you look at the army size, it's like he's only 30 up, but it's way more expensive army. He's got the Void Rays, the Archons. He's got that one Colossus in there. And I almost feel like he's playing this too passively, but if I'm Zest, I would too play like this because if he loses, it's all over for him, right? So he just wants to play as calmly as he can. He knows he's ahead.
Zerg's at 112. It's versus 178. So, he can make these super-powered units, the Colossi and the Void Rays. Then he's going to make Dark Shrine. So I think his plan is to push out with this Death Ball, this 1A Death Ball. And then with the Warp Prism, let's say he loses some Colossi, some Void Rays. He then warps in DTs with the Warp Prism. I mean, I don't even think someone as good as Soulkey can handle that, especially not in a supply deficit of 138 to 200.
Whoa! I mean, small steps, right? But this is just way too much damage. This Protoss army is going to destroy the Zerg army. Dropping Zealots in here as well. Goodbye, Swarm hosts. And again, he has enough Hydras to kill the Void Rays without the Colossus support, but with the Colossus support, it's not happening.
This is going to be a slow, painful death, man.
Well, I mean, this base over here, the right side is being assaulted. He's taking out several of the Spinecrawlers. He's going to keep doing that. If Soulkey goes over there to defend, he loses control of the middle of the map.
Man, okay.
Slow, calculated game here by Zest.
Well, I actually like what Zest's doing. If you, when people ask, okay, like, I lose a lot on the ladder, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. One of the biggest mistakes people make is they just all of a sudden decide to attack, or when they get a lead, they're like, I have to kill him. No, I mean, you don't have to, actually.
Yeah.
Now it's his problem to figure out how to get ahead. You can just get more ahead, keep expanding, build up an army that you know he can't beat.
I mean, like, what's his real advantage here? It's economy. I mean, army size is still pretty similar, so if he messes up a fight, that's one way Soulkey could get back into the game, because he does have an army. He does have those Vipers. Now, the better army composition definitely for Zest, but why risk a poor engagement when you could set something up much better?
Here the Templars in the front. He wants to feed back Vipers before they get up there, but Storms are being used instead.
Yeah, Storms are pretty decent here, and the Viper's kind of irrelevant. That's going to be the end.
That GG, that last harpoon there on that Colossus actually was pulling it away from the Hydras and Rushes.
Yeah.
GG Zest.
Zest
Did it. More Protoss.
Man, it's so sad for Soulkey, because Soulkey is just...
He's so good.
He's so good, but he got in a group of incredible players while he's also having a bit of a slump himself.
Also, I think, Protoss is doing so very well right now.
Yeah, Daedalus, even his map pick, a map that's tough for Protoss, and Zest was still able to take the win. Putting that hair over his glasses.
Yep. Wow. Okay, well, Soulkey's out. So that makes our final match here today of Protoss versus Protoss.
Yeah. The only Protoss versus Protoss we've had today.
Yeah.
Which one of these two Protosses is the better PvPer is going to go on?
I would say Deer. Maybe not. Zest is very good.
This one's like too hard for me to call. I can't
Yeah.
even. Everything I thought about this group just turned out to be wrong. Mario just crushed the group with some with one style.
Actually, I was surprised by that result too.
Yeah.
I wanted Mario to get through, but I didn't think he was going to get through first, right?
And not like that.
I thought at like the minimum he would get through the losers match, barely with some cheese, but
yeah, well, like some cheeses with some proxies, but
yeah,
he actually crushed it. There's like no way I can look at this and actually predict what's happening based on what we've seen.
We're going to go to a short break. When we come back, we're going to have Zest versus Deer.